Serious concerns are growing over Tommy Robinson's treatment in prison, with reports of extreme restrictions and escalating pressure against him. Supporters claim his conditions are far harsher than expected, raising urgent questions about fairness and human rights. Now, an international effort is underway to expose what's really happening, but will it make a difference? Stay tuned for the full story, but first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and join our fast-growing community. Just a quick one to say we have new Liber t-shirts available on our website. You can check the link in the description or go to BritishStand.com. Tommy Robinson's supporters are raising serious concerns about his treatment at HMP Woodhill, where they claim he is facing harsh and disproportionate conditions. Robinson, serving an 18-month sentence for contempt of court, is reportedly being held in solitary confinement for 23.5 hours a day. Unlike other prisoners, he has allegedly been denied access to the prison canteen, meaning he cannot purchase additional food. Reports suggest he is limited to a single tin of tuna, leading to fears about his physical and mental well-being. In addition, Robinson's ability to communicate with the outside world has been restricted. Phone calls, emails, and visitations have reportedly been cancelled without clear justification. One of the more controversial developments is the alleged removal of GB News from his prison TV. Supporters argue this is a deliberate act to isolate him further, as he had been relying on the channel to stay informed. Critics see this as an unnecessary and punitive measure designed to break his spirit. In response to these concerns, a campaign has been launched to bring global attention to Robinson's situation. A key part of this effort is an open letter submitted to the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. The letter, delivered in person by a journalist, outlines claims that Robinson's treatment violates fundamental human rights. It calls on the UNHRC to investigate the conditions at HMP Woodhill, ensure his rights are being upheld, and pressure the UK government to act. The letter highlights specific concerns such as prolonged solitary confinement, which the UN's own Nelson Mandela rules classify as a form of torture if it exceeds 15 consecutive days. Robinson has reportedly been held in these conditions for over 100 days. The letter also emphasizes that while his views are controversial, the right to free expression should be protected, and his imprisonment should not be used as a political tool to silence dissent. So far, only one British politician has publicly spoken out about Robinson's case, Rupert Lowe of Reform UK. Despite opposition from within his own party, Lowe has written to government officials demanding answers about Robinson's treatment. Other politicians have remained silent, leading supporters to believe that his case is being deliberately ignored. While there is skepticism about whether the UN or the UK government will take meaningful action, supporters argue that raising awareness is essential. Even if the UNHRC provides only a generic response, they believe it will expose the organization's stance on human rights cases in Western democracies. Ultimately, this campaign is about more than just one individual. Supporters argue that Robinson's case represents a broader issue, an alleged erosion of free speech and fair treatment under the law. They believe that by continuing to push the conversation forward, they can force transparency and accountability, ensuring that Robinson and others in similar situations receive fair treatment. The coming weeks will determine whether these efforts gain traction or if the UK government continues to ignore the growing public pressure. In other news, an Iraqi asylum seeker has won the right to remain in the UK after his mother refused to provide crucial identity documents, believing his life would be in danger if he returned to Iraq. The case was decided by an upper immigration tribunal, which overturned an earlier rejection of the man's asylum claim. The ruling centered on the man's mother withholding his civil status identity card CSID, a document essential for his return to Iraq. Deputy Judge C.J. Williams accepted that the mother's refusal to provide the documentation was based on her genuine fears for her son's safety. The Iraqi man initially sought asylum in 2021, claiming he had been threatened, kidnapped, and beaten by vehicle owners after being commissioned to repair their car. The attack was reported to Kurdish security forces known as Asylum, but no action was taken, prompting his flight to the UK. His initial asylum appeal was rejected on grounds that 4 years had passed since the attack, suggesting he was no longer at risk. However, the upper tribunal took a different view when considering his mother's refusal to provide his identity documents. "We accept as credible that the appellant's mother is withholding his CSID," Judge Williams stated in the ruling. The judge noted it was unsurprising that his mother would refuse to assist in his return, given the previous violence against him. The tribunal's ruling hinged on Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which prohibits torture and inhuman or degrading treatment. Judge Williams determined it would be too dangerous for the man to attempt returning to Iraq without proper identification. We find the appellant would be returning to Iraq without documentation, and that he would therefore face a real risk of encountering treatment or conditions which are contrary to Article 3 of the ECHR, the judge stated. The ruling concluded, "We remake the decision, allowing the appellant's appeal on Article 3 grounds only." The judge acknowledged that even if the tribunal's findings about reduced risk were explained to the man's mother, it was unlikely she would simply change her mind and provide the CSID to him. In other news, the mother of Ronan Kanda has admitted it is shocking that weapons are still easily accessible to purchase online, following Labour's latest crackdown on such activity. Kanda, 16, was stabbed and killed with a 20-inch ninja sword in 2022 in a tragic case of mistaken identity. The killer had purchased the weapon online. Kanda's mother Pooja has since campaigned for Ronan's Law, which will require online retailers to report suspicious bulk purchases they suspect could lead to weapons being resold, and those who fail to do so face fines of up to £10,000. Speaking on the crackdown, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has declared, "It is important that we take action to protect our children," and announced a major crackdown on online knife sales. Speaking to the media, Kanda recalled the horrific incident which resulted in Ronan's death. He'd said to his dad that he will be 5 minutes, and these two perpetrators came from behind, stabbed Ronan once in the side and second time in the heart. Ronan was just walking home. He has never been in any gangs, never did any drugs. He was just a good lad. He loved his family loved him, and he was taken from us through no fault of our family or his own. When asked if the killers were known to Ronan, Kanda said, "The attackers were known to Ronan, but they were after a friend of theirs who had taken £200, so this was over £200. The intended target owed the murderers, and they were angry that they couldn't get their money back, so they thought, let's buy this ninja sword and kill the intended target." They tried to kill the intended target 6 weeks before what happened to Ronan, and they failed. Then they came back to complete their intention, and instead of killing him, they took my child's life and they are in jail now. One is in for 16 years, the other one for 18 years. Criticizing how easy it was for Ronan's killers to purchase the weapons online, Kanda stated, "He was able to buy all these weapons, and I was shocked that these things were available. They were not just a sword, they were machetes, they were Rambo knives, and they were not just what we used to cut our vegetables with, they were huge. They were all bought online, and there were 25 plus. It's shocking that these things were all available to this day, and they're easily accessible." Asked by host Bev Turner about her campaigning for Ronan's Law and how it helps in her grief, Kanda admitted that every day she thinks of what could have saved Ronan from being murdered. Kanda concluded, "It's hard for me. Every day I think of what could have saved Ronan. Every day I think of the failures of the organization, why a 16-year-old was able to go through all the channels and was able to access twin ninja swords and a machete. That was over a period of 6 months. He was carrying on, buying and selling to them. So the energy, the anger I have inside me, is channeling it to make sure that if Ronan was here today, he would have been protected. I know that if this law was in place years ago, buying this type of weapon won't be that easy." Reflecting on her son, Kanda added, "He was absolutely loving, caring, a beautiful son of mine. He's my dream son. I'm so gutted and broken, and I've lost him just like that within a second. I didn't get to see him flourish, but honestly, he is every mother's dream son." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.